Hello, welcome to another video, and let's talk about the gaming industry. So if you didn't know or didn't hear, I'll put up the tweet that I saw about it. I'm pretty sure they didn't fully announce, it just kind of got reported that they were shutting down 4 studios within Bethesda, and they're pretty big studios. They made games like Redfall was like a main one I saw, and the big one was Hi-Fi Rush, which was borderline, in conversation for Game of the Year. I'm sure there's some sort of journalist out there that probably did give it Game of the Year. There's however many out there. But it's terrible news, obviously, not good. And I just kind of want to talk about it today a little bit. I'm on Halo Infinite, been a while, so I'm going to be really bad. But being that all the news and everything is about Xbox, stuff like that, I figured, you know what? Might as well play Halo. I was planning on uploading a Rainbow Six ranked video, and then the news kind of broke today. I'm recording this Tuesday night about the Xbox dissolving / shutting down the studios, and figured, I post videos of video games all the time. Why not rant and give my 2 cents, talk about it a little bit, because the gaming industry, being that, I'm 26 years old at this point, I played video games since I can really remember. I remember, in my head, first one I really remember was Pokemon on Game Boy Color. We had, PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64, GameCube. That era, that generation onward, it's always since then. And it's kind of crazy, thinking about how the gaming industry's kind of evolved. And now we're at a point where it's kind of a shitty place to be in. Not as a gamer, but I'd say working in the industry and stuff, it's got its issues. Okay, holy shit, that was pathetic. But the big first thing is your stability, I would say. And that is clear as day when it comes to this recent news. The studio that produced Hi-Fi Rush, which by all accounts was a success. It was, borderline Game of the Year in some areas. It was reviewed really well, everything about the game. And even that, I can't imagine if you were a developer for that game at that studio, you produce Hi-Fi Rush, I'm sure you got so many, handshakes, good jobs, all that kind of stuff, just to then end up losing your job. Unless they, move some people around. I'm sure that's probably how it would work. But the fact that the game may not have produced so much, financial success that it didn't help it, And obviously this is not the first thing of layoffs. There's been a lot of other layoffs, within the last year. I saw a tweet that said that, kind of be prepared because this isn't the last time you're seeing something. How the fuck did that miss? This isn't the last thing you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of this stuff over the next year per se, which is genuinely awful. Feels insane. It feels like there are good games being produced. Sure, there is bad games, everything like that. But to me, I think gaming industry right now, the issue is the fact, first off, that it's gotten, as a whole, it is getting so big. It's to the point that I'm pretty sure it's, the biggest media entertainment industry in North America. If you count stuff like music. And I think that has obviously, people see that the gaming industry as a whole is just so much more, corporate bullshit. More about the bottom line, more about making money, everything like that, compared to what it used to be. I'm sure, obviously 20 years ago, 10 years ago, they still had to make money making video games to make it worth it. It just seemed like there was so much more care and inspiration, stuff like that, when it came to making video games at that time. And that's what kind of was first. And I don't, I'm not the first person to say this. I don't think this is a weird thing or controversial in, any way to say that, so much of video games now, the bottom line is, part of the conversation. I don't think it's necessarily, the be-all, end-all for as much as some people would consider it. But it feels like currently that aspect of making a video game is so high. Like, the priority for that has grown so much. And again, I think it's because the whole industry has grown and ballooned to this, you know, borderline unsustainable level. The pure cost of video games nowadays are genuinely becoming insane. And I don't mean the price that you or me go and pay for a video game, you know, the $70, where, like, depends on your country, $80 in Canada. But just the pure cost for these studios to make a game. All that does is lower the margins for success in the game, where the fact of, like, you have to make this much to even break even feels like unattainable numbers. And I think the exponential growth of the video game market plays a factor in that the expectations grew so high for their games to succeed and to produce however well like they used to in whatever, you know, time frame. And games nowadays also just take so much longer to develop. Like, if you think of something like Halo Infinite, it got delayed. It took however long just to begin with. That cost a ton of money. Like, the amount of people that work at like a studio like 343 that, you know, consistently work on this game, on Halo Infinite, before its release, while it was being developed, they're getting paid the whole time, right? And it just adds up, and the cost balloons and adds up and up and up and up. And so then, you know, the suits of these corporations are then in this position where it's like, well, then we have to maximize money. And then they get into that kind of mind frame where it's like, it's always just maximizing money. I think it's obviously a bad mindset. I think that's how we, you know, eventually got to where we are now with a lot of layoffs, everything like that. It's kind of like at this point where, you know, they're on the edge of a cliff, and, you know, that's where it's like, push your right off. Sorry, we can't fucking do it anymore. Literally just turn this into such a corporation about money and everything like that. Stop caring about what actually happened. It's kind of like, I don't know fully about this, but like the whole Boeing of like the planes in the US and stuff, where it kind of has seemed like they were going through a lot of issues recently, and looking into it, it seems like there's a lot more salespeople that have been promoted through the ranks for high profits. You know, that's how a lot of industries work, which ends up leading to bad things. And then the engineers, the people that actually care and build, you know, planes or the game, stuff like that, that were high up, eventually get, you know, pushed out. The salespeople get pulled in, pushed up. They have the control, and then all they care about is profits, money. That's when you get the really greedy, stupid, microtransaction-y type of behavior with games. You know, you start cutting corners. There's less features, all this kind of stuff, which I think is just an overall terrible problem in the gaming industry. But the scary thing is, like, it affects developers and stuff that aren't even in a situation like that. Like the Hi-Fi Rush developers, they literally just made a great fucking game, and they're, you know, losing their fucking livelihoods for something that they realistically had no control over, which also makes it so terrible that all this stuff, like, being a developer like in the gaming industry must just be the most fucking anxiety-riddled thing. I think most people in their day-to-day lives will have a little anxiety of their job, you know, make sure they are actually performing so they can provide, stuff like that, obviously. Developers for video games, it's like you could be doing a fucking banging up job, you produce a brand new IP that does amazing, and then you find out that, yeah, thanks for your service. You're out of here. Like, it's just, I couldn't imagine. It's such a fucking gut punch to all those people that work on that game. High majority of them, they just want to make video games. They don't want to deal with a bunch of bullshit. And that's, you know, really what so much of this comes down to. It just makes no sense to me. I don't think it ever will make sense to me. Obviously, I love video games. I would never be a developer. I'd be just too stressed of, like, pissing people off anyways. Like, I wouldn't have the gall to be able to do it anyways. And that's not even talking about, like, the turnover that happens in the video game developing industry and contract work and stuff like that. But another thing for, like, developers, like, how rough they can have it at times is they can put their heart and soul into a game and then just kind of be told, like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. Or your team, like, you guys aren't responsible for that. They can completely change their directions. I think a first thought I have, sometimes it can be good, obviously, but would be like with Rare, Rare Studios. If you didn't know, they made like Banjo-Kazooie, what was it? Was it the Viva Pinata game, maybe? I think they made that. They made Conker's Bad Fur Day. They really made a lot of 3D platformers in the, early 2000s. And they were like very highly regarded for a lot of those games they made. They made Perfect Dark, I think, also, and they went from that huge shift and they made Sea of Thieves, which on release was not great, and obviously it's gotten better, a lot better throughout the time, and it has I would say it's been a success for them. But I am certain there's a lot of developers that are still with Rare that were probably against the kind of shift. And that's another thing with developers, is like, you're only like a small little cog in the machine. You can have all these grand ideas you want to make stuff, like, however you want to make a certain game, certain ideas. And it can get shot down very easily, very quickly by, suits that don't think it could be profitable. And you just have to kind of swallow that and make whatever kind of thing they might want to make. That area is also so shitty. And that's not with every studio, obviously. Something like Todd Howard, he obviously kind of is in, like, both now, I would assume, because he's been around long enough that he understands the money part of it, while also still really wanting to make video games. Obviously, they're adults. They know what they signed up for. It just sucks, because it feels like they don't get to express their passion in a lot of ways. And, like, obviously, that's, like, the case with a lot of other industries, like movies, stuff like that. I don't know. It just, gaming industry is getting hit hard really badly right now. So hopefully, everyone that got laid off, obviously, hopefully they're all doing fine. Everything like that. Xbox, terrible look. Xbox having a fucking terrible year right now. So, Lord knows if they're gonna get their shit together. That's just my 2 cents. Be sure to leave yours in the comments about the gaming industry, the layoffs, everything. Your thoughts of why, everything like that. Happy to hear about it. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like. There should be Rainbow Six Siege on Friday, ranked, unless I duck it again and keep pushing it off because I'm slightly terrified. Also, consider subscribing, helps the channel a bunch. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.